friends.
Today's story is about a boy with 7 magical pieces. Once upon a time, there was a grandfather who lived with his grandson. The grandson was a naughty boy.
Grandpa, look at me. Meow, meow. Do I sound like a cat?
Yes, my dear boy.
Grandpa, how about this? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I good at gymnastics?
Oh, no. It looks like my grandson is in pain. I think I'll give you a present.
A present? Yeah.
Here you go.
Grandfather gave his precious silk pieces to his grandson.
Wow, so pretty. Have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces.
Great! My dear grandson is smart.
Clean cut squares have 1, 2 pieces.
Great! My dear grandson is smart.
Yeah.
Grandson played with his grandpa's silk pieces.
If a triangle and a square come together, whoa, it becomes a house.
Great! It's a house.
What happens if this square and that triangle come together? It becomes a wavy boat.
Wow, great! It's a boat.
And that night, the silk pieces started to dance when the moonlight shined.
Jumping, hopping. Wow, it's a silk rabbit.
The silk pieces changed into a hopping rabbit, and a magical thing kept happening. At this time, triangles and squares turned into
Wow, it's a person. Wow.
Catch me if you can!
Wow, I'll get you. Wow. Wow.
After playing around, the silk pieces started to change again.
Oh, what will it become at this time? Wow, it's a flying bird. Wow. Oh, silk bird, don't go. Stop right here. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Was I dreaming? Oh, I'm so thirsty.
Sir, drink this cool water.
Wow! I wasn't dreaming. Wow, it's amazing. I have a real friend who is made of silk.
What happened after that? The grandfather and grandson played with the magical silk pieces.
Grandpa, look, it was real. It was not a dream.
Teeny and his friends. So, did you think of a great idea?
I hope that you like this little bit story. It's very nice playing with shapes and make another character. Can you see the happy rabbit and the silky man? It's so awesome. Let's go back to our new lesson today. Today we'll talk about a special kind of parallelograms. You remember the last lesson was about the quadrilaterals, and the parallelogram is a quadrilateral. But today we'll find the attributes for parallelograms for other quadrilateral shapes like squares, rectangles, and also the rhombus. So our new friend here They will be square, rectangle, and rhombus. Let's see what the attributes and the different according to the parallelogram. Let's see this video together.
Here's another type of quadrilateral. Let's name it ABCD. In this quadrilateral, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. The first pair of opposite sides is AB and DC.
Yes, AB is parallel.
We can see that AB is parallel to DC. We use two arrows in the same direction to show that the sides are parallel. The second pair of opposite sides is AD and BC. We can also see that AD is parallel to BC. So we draw arrows like this. Such quadrilaterals are called parallelograms. Both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. This was the basic property of a parallelogram. In a parallelogram, the opposite sides are also equal. This side will be equal to this side. We can say that AB is equal to DC. This side will be equal to this side. AD is equal to BC. And guess what? In a parallelogram, the opposite angles are also equal. Opposite angles are angles which do not have a common side. This angle will be equal to this angle. Angle DAB is equal to angle DCB. And this angle will be equal to this angle. Angle ABC is equal to angle ADC. Remember, this is the basic property of a parallelogram. The opposite sides as well as the opposite angles are equal. Let's see a special case of a parallelogram. In this parallelogram, all the sides are equal to each other. This is a rhombus. So a rhombus is a parallelogram with all its sides equal. It will have all the properties of a parallelogram as well as this additional property that all its sides will be equal. There is another special case of a parallelogram. Let me draw it on a new page. Remember, the opposite sides have to be parallel. It is a quadrilateral drawn like this. The opposite sides of this quadrilateral are parallel, so it is a parallelogram. Let's name the quadrilateral ABCD. Why is it special? All the angles in the quadrilaterals are right angles. This special case of parallelogram is called a rectangle. This is how a rectangle can be defined. It is a parallelogram with all angles being right angles. Just like in a parallelogram, the opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. This side will be equal to this side, and this side will be equal to this one. Now it gets even more interesting. This quadrilateral is a special case of a rectangle. Let's call it PQRS. Like the rectangle, all its angles are right angles, but it has an additional property. All its sides are equal to each other. This type of quadrilateral is called a square. Basically, it is a rectangle with all its sides equal. The rectangle is the special case of the parallelogram, and this square is a special case of a rectangle. But wait, in a square, the opposite sides are parallel, so it is a parallelogram. All its sides are also equal, so it's also a rhombus. Again, what is a rhombus? It is a quadrilateral with all its sides equal and opposite sides parallel to each other. But how is the square different from a normal rhombus? It is a rhombus in which all angles are right angles. Next, we will review all the types of quadrilaterals and how they are related to each other.
So, as can you see here that the parallelogram, the special attributes, both pairs of opposite sides parallel, and both pairs of the opposite sides are equal, and both opposite angles are equal. Rhombus, we can call the rhombus, it's a parallelogram with all sides equal. And a rectangle also is a parallelogram with all angles right angles. And the square also we can call it a rectangle or a parallelogram, a rectangle with all its sides equal, and we can also call a rhombus with all angles are right angles. So I can say that the parallelogram for rhombus, rectangle and square. A rhombus could be only parallelogram. It couldn't be a rectangle because rhombus has equal sides, okay, but the rectangle doesn't. I can't say that the rhombus is a square, but I can say that square is a rhombus. Yes? No. I have rhombus only has square only has right angles, but some rhombus are without right angles. So not all the rhombus are squares, but some squares are, we can call them rhombus. We will understand more for the next page. Look at me. Here is the quadrilateral, which is parallelogram. The first attribute, the opposite sides are equal. This side is equal to this side, and this side is equal to this side. The opposite angles are equal. Here is the first angles, and here is the second pairs of angle. Parallelogram could be a rectangle or a rhombus or a square. Rectangle, all the angles are right. The other attributes, the opposite sides are equal, and the other opposite, all the opposite sides are parallel. So for rectangle, all angles are equal, opposite sides are parallels, and opposite sides are equal. For rhombus, it's also a parallelogram with 4 equal sides, and the opposite sides are parallel. The opposite angle are equal. See? So I can call the rhombus, it's a parallelogram. And I can call the rectangle, it's also a parallelogram. But I can't tell you that the rectangle is a rhombus, because the rectangle should be all the time with right angles. But the rhombus is not. Here is also the square. The square also a parallelogram with 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. We can call the square is a rectangle with 4 equal sides, because the attributes for rectangle is a sheet here. The both sides, opposite side are parallel, and the opposite sides are equal, and all the angles are right. So I can call the square is a rectangle, but with all sides equal. And I can call the square is a rhombus, because all the attributes of rhombus are here in the square. The first attribute or the first property, the opposite sides are equal, are parallel, all the sides are equal, the opposite angles are equal. So a square is a rhombus, a square is a rectangle, but not all the rhombus are the squares. Squares should be only with right angles. Let's see together the first page. It's 480 in your textbook. Here is you have to remember. Before I wanted to draw the quadrilateral for the first one. The attributes. The attribute means the properties. Rectangle. Let's draw the rectangle. The attributes of a rectangle, each two opposite sides are, this is opposite sides, are what? Yes, are parallel. Or you can say it equal, as you want. For equal, I draw these, and for parallel, I draw the arrows. The rectangle has right angles. How many right angles? Perfect. Has 4 right angles. The next attribute of a rhombus. Let's draw the rhombus. Do you remember the rhombus? The rhombus, all the sides are the same, but it doesn't have right angles. So the attribute of the rhombus, each two opposite angles are perfect, equal. All sides are perfect, equal in length. Number 3, the attribute of a square. Let's draw the square. Here is the right angles and the sides are equal. All the sides are amazing, equal. The square has how many right angles? Perfect, 4. So all of these quadrilaterals are parallelograms because they have 2 pairs of parallel lines, and we have a special thing for the rectangle for right angles, special thing for the rhombus for equal sides, a special thing for a square for right angles with 4 equal sides. Let's see the next. Complete. Is it the same? I guess. Yes. Okay. Here. Okay, I guess it's in the page 481 in the bottom. Here is you have to draw each figure that is described. Number 1, a parallelogram with the 4 right angles. Yes, it's a rectangle, so you can draw a rectangle or you can draw a square, but they said only 4 right angle. They didn't say 4 equal sides. Yes, number 2, a parallelogram that has 4 equal sides. Perfect. It could be rhombus or square, but let's draw rhombus because they didn't say all of these angles are right. A parallelogram that has 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. Amazing, it's a square now. Number 4, a quadrilateral that is not a parallelogram. Remember the parallelogram, both opposite sides are parallel. So anything you draw it with 4. With, for example, 4 sides, but not all of them are parallel. This is the trapezoid. Only one pair is parallel, but parallelogram should be 2 pairs. Here is the problem solving. I guess I have a missing page. I will put it later. I am a quadrilateral that is neither a square nor a rectangle nor a rhombus. So I'm not a square. I'm not a rectangle. I'm not a rhombus. I have only one pair of parallel sides. Only one pair of a parallel side. So the other sides are not parallel. What's the shape? Perfect. It's a trapezoid. Sorry, here is all trapezoid. Now, number 2. Does a rectangle have all the attributes of a parallelogram? Explain. Yes, the attribute or the property for parallelogram that the opposite sides are equal, the opposite sides are parallel, and the opposite angles are equal. Let's see, is that enough for the rectangle? Yes, the opposite sides are parallel, the opposite sides are equal, and the opposite angles are equal. So we have to say yes, it has a total of 4 sides and pairs of opposite sides are parallel, opposite angles are equal, and opposite sides are equal. Yes. Let's see next. Alma says, since rectangles are squares, all rectangles have 4 equal sides. Do you agree with her? And explain. So, she said that the rectangles are squares. No, the rectangles are not squares. I have only to say that the squares are rectangles because the opposite sides are equal. But the rectangles, as usual, not all the sides are equal at the square. Again, I know it's confused a little bit. I will draw for you. Here is the rectangle and here is the square. The special thing for the square, 4 equal sides, 4 right angles. Okay? The special thing for the rectangle is 4 right angles. This is the right angles. And the opposite sides are equal. So can I call the rectangle square? No, because the rectangle doesn't have 4 equal sides. But can I say that a square is a rectangle? Yes. I have 4 right angles. The opposite sides are equal. Special thing I added here that all the sides are equal. So I don't agree. I said no. Squares are rectangles. But not all rectangles are squares. Here is the last thing, it's checking your vocabulary. A property of a shape is an, yes, it's an attribute. Yes, you still have one page in your textbook. I didn't put it here. It's about just complete the filling blanks. Yes, I want you to do it, or I will do it for you here in a blank page. But let's together find the possible names for each quadrilateral. What I can call this first thing? I can call it first polygon, right? It's a polygon, right? It's closed, no curved side, and it's not crossed. So it's a polygon. And this also is a polygon. And this also is a polygon. What about this shape, number 1 also? What do you call it? Perfect, it's a parallelogram. Parallelogram. What else? Is it a rectangle? No. It's a square? No. It's a rhombus? No, rhombus should all the sides are equal. So I can call it quadrilateral. Excellent. So here is quadrilateral. Here is a polygon. What do you call this shape? Perfect. It's a rhombus. What else? It's a parallelogram. Perfect. Both pairs are parallel. I can call it, for example, a square. No. I can call it quadrilateral. Yes. So you can add here quadrilateral. This is the polygon. Sorry. Okay. This is the polygon. Yes. It has what? Excellent. Parallel sides, so it's a parallelogram. And is it a quadrilateral? Yes. And is it a rhombus? Yes, all the sides are equal. So here is all rhombus. And what about the angles? All right, so this is also what? Perfect, a square. Can I call this one a rectangle? Yes, all right angles, the opposite sides are equal, so it's also a rectangle. Yes. So this is the homework. There is a missing page which is page 481. Yes. Let's see. Okay, let me do it here. Wait a minute. Okay, just wait a minute. Okay, here is the page. Here is we have to find and write the right answer. The first one, this is page 481. We have trapezoid, square, and parallelogram and quadrilateral. Now number 1, a figure with 4 sides and 4 angles. Yes, all of them could be, but the special thing is for a quadrilateral because there is no specific attribute. So here is quadrilateral. Number 2, a rectangle can also be called a perfect. I can see it's a parallelogram or a quadrilateral, so you can choose both. So here is a parallelogram. A parallelogram cannot be what? Cannot be square? No. Cannot be quadrilateral? No. Extent cannot be a trapezoid. A rhombus with 4 right angles is perfect square. Now here, write as many names as possible for each quadrilateral. Yes, as I told you, this is, we can call it a polygon. Or quadrilateral. Perfect. What else? Perfect trapezoid. Can I call it parallelogram? No, because only one pair of sides are parallel. Here is, yes, I can call it polygon. Here is, what else? Excellent, it's a rectangle. It's also a quadrilateral. And it's also what? Parallelogram. Perfect. It is. Yes, it's a polygon. The square is a polygon. The square is a square also. It's a rhombus also. And it's also, for example, parallelogram. And I can call it a rectangle, and I can call it a quadrilateral. So you can say anything you want. This is the missing page in your book, 481. I didn't put it in the slide, but I make it at the end. Yes, before we finish the lesson, let's play together this game. Which option best describes the figure? All the sides are equal. Is it a rectangle, rhombus, square, or parallelogram? Let's see.
That's right!
Which option best describes the figure?
So here I have opposite sides are the same. What do you call it? With 4 right angles. It can be a rectangle and it can be the parallelogram, but I want the best.
Good going.
Excellent.
Which option best describes the figure?
All the sides are equal. Perfect. And the right angles. Excellent.
On a roll.
Which option best describes the figure?
It's the best. It could be a rectangle, it could be a rhombus, it could be a parallelogram, but the best one is a square.
Fabulous.
Which option best describes the figure?
Also square. Give us another one.
Good go.
Yes. So this is the lesson for today. It's about finding the special attributes for the parallelograms in the other quadrilateral shapes except the trapezoid. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.